Hey there, how there, ho, there's Jeff Cutter Down, and welcome you to the selection show for the second and 10 football tournament. Here, so we're doing a tournament draw, random draw. So, which means that the 128 teams will be all randomized and all that. So, we're gonna do the season name. It will be called the, the Super Bowl winners, losers, and friends tourney. This will start on I don't remember the first day of football. I'll have to take a look at my schedule. Wait, does it show? It'll show me schedule, right? It shows the schedule. Right? Yep. Yeah, I went. Okay, the 2025 NFL schedule. All right. The first game is on September 4th. But I'll be doing everything on a Sunday, so it'll be September the 7th. So I'm almost a month ahead when I'm doing this. Of course, 2025. So, yeah, so this is going to be interesting. The postseason, the original. So the rules are going to be that it'll be the first 10 weeks of the year. The first 10 weeks will be from September till Sunday, November the 9th. So the first 2 months of the season are going to be round of 128 games. The next 5 weeks from November 16th to December 14th will be round of 64 games, and then the round of 32 will be the final 3 weeks of the year. So yeah, the round of 32. So basically it's 64 matches in the round of 128 in 10 weeks. So you got yourself 6, and then you got 4 extra ones. So there'll be 4 weeks where there'll be 7. Um, and then 32 matchups for 5 weeks is 6, and then there'll be 2 weeks out of the 5 that will have 7. And then they ran 32 matches, 16 for 3 makes 5, and then there'll be 1 week which will be 6. I think the last week we'll have 6 matchups, and then the Super Wildcard weekend will be the round of 16. So the final, semifinals, quarterfinals, and the round of 16. So the round of 16 will be during Super Bowl Wildcard weekend, and there will be Saturday games, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Divisional round quarterfinals, Saturday the 17th and Sunday the 18th. And then the AFC and NFC Championship semifinals will be January 28th. The championship will be Sunday, February 8th, 2026. So, yeah, that's how it will go. Okay, a super winner. It should be, sorry, it should be Super Bowl winners. Losers. Okay, so here's how it works. There are 59 Super Bowl winners and 59 Super Bowl losers. I have all the seasons of second and 10 from 1932 till 2025. So the 2024, excuse me. So yeah, why did I say 2025? Reps? I think I no, I think I screwed up with the way I looked at everything. Well, I'll have to find the season and all that. So yeah, like four, 2016, 16. Yeah, 25 can't be first. Yeah, because that's 23-24 season is the 24-25. Okay, so I think I screwed up. So the past tournaments when creating, I've had like trying to go random draw, but I've had um the the younger teams face each other, and then the older teams getting the easier spot. So to do that, to combat that, I did random.org and did something. Yeah, season 2025 can't happen. All right, so the first one was 1971 random draw. So the 71 Super Bowl champions, in case they're a 1 seed, are the Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl 6. Miami gets the second spot. Next is 1999, which is going to be jam packed. The 90 million team led by the Super Bowl champion St. Louis Rams. That was the year Kurt Warner came out of fucking nowhere. The Tits, who take second place, who came out of nowhere over 1 yard short of the Super Bowl. Bob Greasy in Super Bowl 6 was sacked for like 23 yards or some crap like that. Oh, yeah, Jacksonville, the 99 Jaguars are number 5. Now, the 99 Jaguars are there because Jacksonville, like every one of the 32 franchises, have to have a team. 28 of the 32 franchises have won a Super Bowl appearance, but Jacksonville has not. The closest they were in 99-2000 when the Tits beat them in Jacksonville. The 3 losses Jacksonville suffered in the regular season and postseason combined were all to the Titans. They were undefeated against everyone else. NFL Europe, the Rhine Fire won the NFL playoffs and all that. But more importantly than that, the 99 Rhine Fire won a spot in the 23 team non NFL AFL things where we had players from the World Football League, the USFL, the AAFC, the XFL, World League of American Football. Did I say that? Well, USFL, NFL Europe, and the UFL. So yeah, Ryan somehow snuck in. All right, 94 is next. And these were random. 94, 95, that was the year San Francisco crushed the Chargers in the the highest Super Bowl, the highest ranking Super Bowl, the highest scoring Super Bowl. What am I thinking? Okay, 2012 is next on the list, and that was 2013, right? If I remember correctly. Oh yeah, it was the Ravens over the Niners when the Niners. I picked the Niners to win. Baltimore doing it for Art Modell. Of course, Art Modell is a piece of shit according to Cleveland and a lot of fans. Yeah, Baltimore beats San Fran. Baltimore would not have been in this situation if it wasn't for that great catch by the late Jacoby Jones from Flacco and double and in the final minute against the Broncos. 1985, the year of my birth, the 85-86 Chicago Bears. Fight on, Chicago Bears. They beat my New England Patriots. Well, I wasn't even a year old. I wasn't a Patriots fan back then. I can barely remember things before I was 4 years old. But yeah, the Bears beat the Patriots quite easily 46 times. But the crazy thing about the 85 Bears was that they had beaten their 3 teams, the Giants, the Rams, and the Pats, giving them only 10 points. And those 10 points were to the Pats in the final. That's freaking amazing. 2021 next on the list. Where are we here? 2021. That was the year. Was that Kansas City or no? No, wasn't Tampa. Oh yeah, the Rams against the Bengals, right? Yeah, it was the Rams against the Bengals. When Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, Evan McPherson, was it that he kicked a winning field goal in every game that the Bengals got in? But yeah, they shocked the world. Yeah, 2023 was Kansas City, right? Yeah, Kansas City was trying for the three-peat. But yeah, it was the Rams over Cincy in the last minute in Los Angeles at their own stadium. 1968, it was a double 68 AFL playoffs. We're gonna go NFL first. Oh no, AFL. 1968, that'd be the New York Jets who won Super Bowl 3. And then Oakland, who actually won the Super AFL playoff thing and was one of the 2 AFL teams in that 10-team AFL thing. Yeah, 68 Raiders snuck in. They didn't win the Super Bowl, so that's why they got allowed to compete. 68 NFL, well, the seemingly unscathed Baltimore Colts were the loss to the Jets. Maybe they oversold them. All right, 2003, which is the second time my New England Patriots won the Super Bowl. Well, of course, remember it's 03 season, but they won in 04. That's how it is. I usually just say, well, the Pats won in 04. Well, they were the 03 team. And then Carolina, who actually did great in the fourth quarter, but John Casey kicked the ball out of bounds, which meant that the Pats had good field position. 1990 is next. That would be the New York Giants using the ball control philosophy of one Bill Parcells and also Bill Belichick on that team, taking down the K gun of the Buffalo Bills, who that was their best chance. Buffalo was to win the Super Bowl. They only lost by 1 point. Sky Norwood went wide right, but in defense of Norwood, it was a 48-yard kick. A lot of the legendary kickers can't get past 45 yards, and it was on grass, whereas Buffalo always played on turf. Can't blame them. 2011 was the next draw, and that was the 2012. Sometimes I have to think long and hard It's like it wasn't the Pats, right? No, the Pats had that drought. 2012. It'll hit me. Broncos snow. Why can't I remember 2012? 2010 was the Saints. 2011 was the Packers over the Steelers. 2012 was who? It wasn't Seattle. Why can't I remember? Why is it not picking up? Not computing. It's not the Patriots. They didn't make the Super Bowl that year. It does not compute. It's not Indy. It's not Carolina or Atlanta. Yeah, why is 2012 not computing in my head? Um, yeah, it was Super Bowl 46. That should tell me something. 46. It was in Indy. It wasn't Peyton in the Colts. It was in the Broncos. I was thinking Broncos, but no, that can't be right. Oh my gosh. I just have a massive brain cramp. I don't know. Oh yeah, it was the Patriots. It was 4 year the it was the rematch of 4 years prior, the Giants over the Patriots, and which Mario Mayhem made that great catch and beat the Patriots in the final minute. That's what it is. I also remember an antidote. If I can give you an antidote about this, is that I had to have a picture of Eli Manning holding the Super Bowl trophy for a week. Well, for a week on my Facebook profile with Jim Schmiedenberg for the Giants. And Jim said on his Blue Shirt Underground show, which was on Blog Talk Radio in 2012, he said, well, many New England people like Brian Boyle refused to admit that the Patriots lost to the Giants in the Super Bowl. And then he gives the thing about my bet with Jim. And I said that, well, if the Patriots beat the Giants, I don't know what I was going to do. But if the Giants beat the Patriots, I just stopped going to Blue Shirt Underground for a month. And they say, no, let's not do that. And then give me the Facebook thing. So I can't remember. I think it was like 25 minutes after the Super Bowl ended, when the Giants beat the Pats. I ended up having to post that picture, and basically he said that I didn't whine, I didn't complain, I just did it. So props to Cutsy. All right, 1988. I did not try to butter that for nothing. 1988. That was the Niners against the Bengals in one of the best Super Bowls of all time. That was when Jerry Rice went off on a rocket with 11 catches in the Super Bowl or something like that. But it wasn't him with the winning touchdown. It was John Taylor, and Bill Walsh retired with the title. 1981 is next. That is the 81-82. That was 1982. That was another San Francisco Cincy Super Bowl. But this time it was a younger Joe Montana versus Ken Anderson in the Super Bowl, not Boomer Esiason. But of course, that Super Bowl, Super Bowl 16, is remembered for Dan Buns and his famous goal line stand. 83 was 83-84. That was the year the Redskins won with John Riggins basically bowling over the Miami Dolphins. Oh no, oh shit, that's wrong. Oh shit, that's wrong. Actually, no, that's wrong. Sorry. It wasn't Washington. It was the Raiders who beat the Washington Redskins first. That's right. That's what's the Super Bowl, which Washington had all those points, and then they only scored 9 in the Super Bowl. And the Raiders remember their screen pass in the regular season, and then Jack Squire jumped the line and got the touchdown. 1995 is next, the 95 season. So that was when the Cowboys were the first team to win 5 Super Bowls. And they took out the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Larry Brown made those 3 interceptions off Neil O'Donnell. A lot of people said O'Donnell was stupid throwing those balls right to Larry Brown. That's a Married with Children reference. And of course, Larry Brown parlayed it to going with the Raiders in free agency because Al Davis won him. All right, so let's go to the 1933 season, and that would be the 1933 Chicago Bears. Yeah, the 1933 Chicago Bears. They won the 1930s tournaments, so that's why they got a spot. Next up is 2008. Let's see, 2008. 08-09, one of the greatest Super Bowls of all time, Steelers Cardinals. Cardinals were looking for their first title of any kind in 6 decades, and they fell flat. They lost. Fitzgerald got a good touchdown, and then Santonio with the toe tap. 2010, just a few years later, that was the Packers ruining the Steelers' chances to win their seventh Super Bowl. So yeah, Green Bay beat Pittsburgh in that Super Bowl. 1966, that is the first ever championship. The 66 NFL team goes first. That's Green Bay. That beat the Chiefs. Yeah, that beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl for Super Bowl 1, 35-10. Max McGee, the first ever touchdown. 1980, 1980, 81. That was when Oakland, Rod Martin with those 3 interceptions off Josh Jaworski and the Eagles and sent Dick Vermeil to retirement. I think early on. 2023, that is the 2024, that's when Kansas City won the Super Bowl for the first time. I keep thinking it's the Niners, but that's not right. Oh, frick. It's not San Francisco. Who did they beat? Oh, it was the Eagles. 2023. It was the 2023 version of the Eagles. That's right. Who they beat in the Super Bowl? 1996. 96-97. That was when Green Bay got back to Titletown and Desmond Howard's 99-yard play against the New England Patriots. I was not a Patriot fan at that time. 2001, 2002, that was when Tom Brady came off the bench after an 0-2 start and Drew Bledsoe being injured by Mo Lewis of the Jets. And then they beat the greatest show on turf, the Rams, who were even better than their 1999 team. They should have won the Super Bowl. Vinatieri kicked the winning field goal and started my love affair with the Patriots, to be honest with you. 97-98, that was when the Broncos finally got the monkey off their back and beat the Packers in the Super Bowl. And that was when Elway won his first title. This one's for John. 2019, the 2019-20 season, that was when Kansas City beat San Francisco in the fourth quarter. And there will also be a third team, the Houston Texans. Reason why is because Houston, like Jacksonville, does not have a team who went to the Super Bowl. So that means we got to find a Texans team. And fortunately, I found a Texans team without going to the Houston Oilers. I would have went with the 79 Oilers. But the 2019 Texans beat Buffalo in the wild card game in a wild one that went to overtime thanks to Deshaun Watson's great run, and then took Kansas City, what is it, 24-0 or something? Houston was up by 20 plus points on the Chiefs, and then the Chiefs freaking remembered who the hell they were. And I was watching at Bill's house. Of course, this is before COVID. I watched Bill's house, and then, Houston was crushing Kansas City, and I told Bill, I said, it's still the second quarter. Lo and behold, I was right. Okay, so let's go to 1989. That will be San Francisco crushing Denver in the fine powder, and George Seifert proving that he could lead the team to a Super Bowl. Of course, John Elway got bruised 55-10. They should have put Steve Young in the game as backup, or did they? I can't remember. Well, regardless of that, 2007 is next on the list. That was 07-08. And yes, of course, that was the year the Giants ruined the Patriots' unbeaten dreams and glories and all that shit. I was sick for like a week after that game. I mean, if all the Pats had forced Eli Manning, kept Eli Manning and ruined his forward progression, if his forward progression was stopped, then the play would have been called for a sack. And then Eli heaved it down the field. David Tyree puts the ball on top of his helmet and makes the catch over Roddy Harrison. I have never been able to get the Super Bowl, and I hiccup again. Okay, 1977-78. That's when the Cowboys beat Craig Morton and the Denver Broncos. That was when, Roger Staubach was quarterbacking that Dallas team. Craig Morton was quarterbacking for Denver, but they actually were a 1-2 on the depth chart. Dallas, Landry, he used to put Staubach and Morton in almost every possession, like alternate them every possession. But then Morton was too big for his boots, if you will. Staubach won the starter's job. Morton was sent to the Giants and then to the Browns. Okay, next is 2005. That's the year of 2006. Yeah, that's 2006. That's the year of the Steelers winning the Super Bowl. Jerome Bez retires with the trophy, and the gadget played by Randall L., who played quarterback for the Indiana Hoosiers. I gotta do college football shit too. And of course, that was Seattle, and Seattle cried foul because they were robbed. And there were some calls against Seattle, I'll admit, but I think they probably would have lost. 1970-71, that's when Baltimore won in Super Bowl V against the Cowboys, what they call the Turnover Bowl, because of 11 turnovers by the two teams. And Jim O'Brien's last second field goal, which doesn't get a lot of playtime. Okay, 2024, that's the year of this year's champions, the Philadelphia Eagles, who's basically stole Saquon Barkley from the New York Giants, and basically Giants fans had to watch him win the Super Bowl. Okay, next is 1976. Yeah, this is just in case something goes awry. 76, 77, that was Oakland. Oh man, Willie winning the Super Bowl and John Madden being carried off the field against the Vikings. This was their fourth and final attempt at the Super Bowl, which they failed. Yeah, they tied the Bills being 0-4, but the Vikings at least went to 4 of the first 11 Super Bowls. Buffalo's first Super Bowl was 1991. If you must know. All right, so next is 2014. That would be the year of 2015. That's the year the Pats won the Super Bowl from the Seahawks. Seattle, I was scared Seattle was going to beat the Patriots and go back to back. But the fact of the matter was that they didn't, and that was when Marshawn Lynch was not surprisingly not given the chance to carry the ball into the end zone, which would have screwed the Pats over, and I would have given Jason Lindgren his flowers. But no, they decided to go for the play, and Malcolm Butler saw that coming. 2004, that was the year the Pats won their second straight Super Bowl, and that was the year that they had to face the Eagles with Donovan McNabb finally getting the monkey off his back, losing those 3 straight conference championship games, and people wanted his head. But he and T.O., T.O. was won in their only season with the Eagles. He got hurt, but then came back for the Super Bowl. Of course, T.O. would become a bitch. 87-88, that's the year Washington won the Super Bowl by their 5 touchdowns in the second quarter, down 10-0 to the Broncos. And before 2017, that was the largest margin of a comeback. So yeah, Washington with those 5 touchdowns. Doug Williams was a hero. Timmy Smith over 200 yards, and then he basically got too big for his britches. 91's next, and that's Washington again against Buffalo. The year that Furman Thomas forgot his helmet at the Super Bowl, and had to miss the first play, and that ruined Buffalo's momentum. The game was at the Metrodome, and it was famous for that halftime show being a winter carnival because CBS had the Winter Olympics. But unfortunately, not knowing it, Fox decided to do counter programming with a In Living Color episode about football and all that, and it crushed the CBS halftime show. And finally, the NFL decided to snap out of it and says, we need big names. So Michael Jackson got to the next Super Bowl halftime, and the rest is fucking history. Okay, 74. That was the year the Steelers won the Super Bowl. I think that was their first? It was their first Super Bowl in history. That was when the third time the Vikings lost in the championship. That was Super Bowl 9. 2017 is next on the list. That is 17-18. So that is not the Patriots. Yeah, the Patriots lost. Oh yeah, the Philly special. Yeah, that's right. That's the year of the Philly special. So that's what happened. And then weirdly enough, they had a wide receiver, number 17, with the same last name as my legal first name, and that's Alshon Jeffrey. And of course, I am Jeffrey Diamond. And yes, my legal first name is spelled Jefffery, not R-E-Y, like traditional. Okay, 2013 is next, and that is the Seahawks, but on the right side of things, 43-8 over the Broncos, crushing Peyton Manning in the Broncos uniform, and the defense just rolled Tide, if you will. I hate the fucking Alabama Crimson Tide. Anyway, 2009. 9-10, so that is, so that's the Saints. Oh yeah, the Saints winning Super Bowl against Peyton and the Colts. It actually was big because the Saints, 5 years prior went almost bankrupt because of Hurricane Katrina. The Saints almost left New Orleans. LSU had problems, but yeah, the Saints had to use LSU's playing field, and it looked like New Orleans was going to move to San Antonio, but no, they didn't. And then they celebrated with the Super Bowl. Of course, if Brett Favre was not stupid enough to throw that interception near the end of the fourth quarter, and they go for a 50-plus yard field goal and make it, the Vikings, it would have been Favre versus Manning for the Super Bowl. Okay, 1969, but not the 69 we all know. The 69 AFL Kansas City Chiefs. That was when the Chiefs won and, you know, did it like the Chinese fire drill. I know that comment did not age well. That was Super Bowl 4, and the last time the AFL faced the NFL in the Super Bowl, sooner was the AFC, NFC, and the AFC got lucky when Pittsburgh, Baltimore, well, now the Indy Colts, and Cleveland decided to take money and go to the AFC and make it two groups of 16. 1975, well, that's 75, 76. That is the year of Super Bowl 10, and that's the year that the Steelers beat the Cowboys in the Super Bowl. Well, the first major Super Bowl thing. That was great. That was known for Lynn Swan's acrobatic catches. 2015 is next on the list. That is 2015-16. That is the year of the the Broncos when they took care of the Carolina Panthers. Carolina was 15-1. Cam Newton was just on fire, but Peyton Manning showed his gut. And Von Miller was just a beast. To my chagrin, of course, I picked Carolina. 1978, that was 78-79. Speaking of Pittsburgh, Dallas, that was the year of the famous Super Bowl 13, one of the greatest ever with so many Hall of Famers, 35-31 Steelers, and of course, Jackie Smith missing that touchdown catch. Dallas had to go for 3 points instead of 7. Changed a lot. 2006 is next on the list, and that is the year that Peyton won the Super Bowl as the Colts, taking care of the Pats in the greatest AFC championship game around, the deficit. Pissed me off. And then Chicago Bears were the runners up. That was Devin Hester getting the opening kickoff for a touchdown, which was amazing. And it was the first time the Super Bowl was played in rain because, it rained in Miami during the game. 98 is next on the list. That is the famous game that saw 99. That's when the Broncos went back to back and beat Atlanta, the first Atlanta choke job in the Super Bowl. Eugene Robinson stupidly decided to try to get oral sex from an undercover officer, even though he won the Man of the Year award. Not the MVP, but Man of the Year for his charitable work. He had to give the trophy back. 72-73, that is the year the Dolphins won their first Super Bowl, and that's the team that went 14 for 14. And we're actually not favored to beat the Redskins at the Super Bowl. They were actually underdogs. And Gary Premian's poor excuse of a pass instead of laying down on the ball, he decided to pass it. Mike Bass made the 7 points. Fortunately for Miami, they won that game. All right, so 2022 is next on the list. And that is 23. That's Kansas City, right? No, that's not Kansas City, is it? Yeah, it's Kansas City against San Francisco again. That can't be right. Ah, shitballs. What? I screwed up. The 2020. Okay, hang on here. Okay, so yeah, the 2020. So the 2000. Okay, hang on. 23 and 22. 23 was Kansas City, yeah. Then it was San Francisco in the second one. I screwed up. And then we'll go back to 2022 and Kansas City versus Philadelphia. Okay, I screwed up, but I fixed it. Okay, never mind. 92 is next. That's the year of the massive Super Bowl crunching by the Dallas Cowboys against the Buffalo Bills, 52-17. Jim Kelly was not 100%, to be fair. So yeah, Dallas winning that thing, easily winning. Leon Light could have given Dallas the most points in the Super Bowl by a winning team, but did not because he hot dogged. Hot dog. 84, one of the best Super Bowls ever. Montana versus Marino, and Montana came out on top. Only time Miami got to the Super Bowl under Dan Marino. I feel bad for him. 67, that would be the 67-68 season. That was when the Packers went back to back for Vince Lombardi, and he decided to retire and give Phil Bankston the team. Unfortunately, it failed miserably. Kansas City, Oakland were the runners up in Super Bowl 2. 2018 is next. That is the Super Bowl that we'll see 18-19. That is the season that the Pats got the Super Bowl, taking care of the LA Rams. Excuse me. Yeah, I would say St. Louis Rams, but that's wrong. Yeah, the LA Rams. The Rams won in overtime in the conference championship game, even though that they should have been penalized for pass interference and all that. That 57-yard field goal by Sirloin indoors against the Saints was huge. We were hoping for a Breeze Brady Super Bowl. Brady and New England had to go into Kansas City and beat the Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl, and the Pats beat the Rams in one of the biggest yawn fests, 13-3. But that Super Bowl is huge to me because that Super Bowl actually was when me and my buddy Bill Lane were on the outs. Fortunately, we made up and we got in the first big event we saw together was the Super Bowl. All right, so 1964, we have a double. We have a double thing. 64 NFL, that it will be the Cleveland Browns. And the 64 AFL team is the Kansas City Chiefs, who were the second AFL team to win in that tournament, the 68-69 Raiders and the 64-65 Chiefs. What was weird about that AFL tournament was that the two semifinalists who lost were both the Houston Oilers from the 61 and 62 teams. So practically Houston got fucked over twice. The Browns, 64, well, they're in as the AAFC, but this is an NFL thing, and this is their NFL trip to the Super Bowl. Okay, next is 1979. That is the year Pittsburgh won the Super Bowl against the LA Rams in Pasadena. Yeah, the LA Rams with Vince Ferragamo, who soon go on to lesser fame in the CFL with the Alouettes. Fuck that guy. That's what a lot of Alouette fans will say. 2002, that would be the year of Tampa and their defense screwing over Oakland's Rich Gannon in the Super Bowl. But the problem was Rich Gannon was released by the Raiders. The Bucks picked him up, and lo and behold, Oakland forgot to change their offensive schemes, and Gannon and Gruden knew everything. 2020, the first year after the pandemic, Tampa again winning the Super Bowl, and it was it against Kansas City? I think it was. I think it was. It had to be. Yeah, the 2020 Chiefs. That's right. Hold on. My research says I got it right. Hey, thank goodness. 86 is next on the list, and that would be the 86-87 New York Giants winning the Super Bowl against Elway and the Broncos. First time the Broncos got John Elway got to the Super Bowl, but the Giants used Phil Simms' near perfect passing performance. 82, uh, 82-83 Washington Redskins against the Miami Dolphins pre-Marino when they had Woodley and Strock as QBs, and Reagan's using the Reagan's Express. 1957 is next, but that's only because we need to pick the Detroit Lions up. This is Detroit has never been to the Super Bowl, so this is the Detroit team I picked with 1957 Lions. Okay, next is 2016. That'll be the Super Bowl that saw the Pats beat the Falcons 28-3. Enough said. I don't need to go into detail because I hope you know what I'm talking about. 1973-74 when Miami won for the second time and used their suffocating defense against the Minnesota Vikings, holding them to a low number of rushing yards, excuse me. 2000, in the year 2001, that's when the Ravens used the Super Bowl to their advantage against the New York Giants, only giving up 7 points. But the Giants did. Well, that was off a kickoff return. So basically, the Ravens defense gave up 0 points on defense. It was only on special teams. Weirdly enough, the Giants crushed the Vikings and Randy Moss 41-0 in the NFC title game. And then the Ravens used their defense, crush Oakland. And I can't remember. Please help me out. Who was that Ravens guy in like the Ravens highlights when Tony Banks went down and Trent Dilfer became quarterback? And the Raven guy says, Trent Dilfer, well, I'll be. I never get an answer. Fuck. Okay, 4 more teams. Okay, 48. 1948. I know they didn't have like the I know they didn't have the playoffs that but yeah, the 1948 Eagles won the 1940s qualifier for the thing. In the AAFC, the Cleveland Browns, they won their way through, and two more teams left, and that's the 93 and the Ash 94 teams, the Cowboys and the Bills. Buffalo did a little bit better. All right, so that's 128 teams, just in case something goes archie bargy. So that's your teams. Those are your teams. A team from Europe, a team for the AAFC. You have the Detroit and Cleveland NFLers, Houston Texans, and Jacksonville guys. You have two AFL teams from the 60s that didn't go to the Super Bowl. You have a team from the 30s and the 40s. All right, that's safe. Okay, championship game. Well, let's see here. Los Angeles. Well, since it is in my hometown, we're gonna go to the Rogers Center. Yep, since it is in Canada. Well, since I am Canadian, I'm gonna go Toronto. Well, I'm in Toronto, so the championship game will be in Toronto in February 2026. This will take a while because 128 teams. You got to add everything, sugar and spice and everything, freaking nice. That's for sure. All right. So yeah, it's gonna be hard. So the first 10 weeks of the real 2025 season will be covering the round of 64. As I said, there will be 64 round of 128. Excuse me, 64 games. There will be 4 weeks. They'll have 7 games, and the rest will have 6. I think we're gonna have the first and 10 week 1 to week 10 be 7 and all that. Um, yeah, and then the round of 64, 32 matchups in 5 weeks, so that's 6 per week, and then the first and the fifth weeks are 7 each. And the then the round then the round of 32 will be played during weeks 15, 16, 17, 18 in real life, 3 weeks. 16 games, 16 divided by 3 is 5, and then we'll go 5, 5, 6. Okay, so let's make sure. Play existing season. Where's losers and friends? Playing season, please wait. I hope this works. I'm anxious. So, yeah, I think, yeah, 64 matchups. I hope they said, when I said September 8th, they didn't add 7 days. I can always just change it. Oh, no, they did. Andy. Oh, okay, so they changed. Okay, so Ryan will play the 81 Giants. Niners, 24 Kansas City. So yeah, so under the circumstances, oh, they go by, what did they go by? Do they go by random? They don't, oh, okay, so it doesn't group by home team, home city. Cleveland. Wish you could. Okay, so normally, okay, so that means that um, if everything worked out, the 71 champion Dallas Cowboys would face the 93 runner-up Bills. The 93. Okay, so I think they did that right. So the 93 Bills. Um, so who did the 93 Bills play? They play the 07 Pats. Okay, so yeah, so it was random. Okay, it was random. So the 07 Pats would host the 93 Bills and all that. Because the 93 Bills would have played the 1971 champion Dallas Cowboys. Well, the 71 Cowboys play the 87 Redskins on home turf. Okay. So, yeah, it completely randomized. Great. Okay, so we had some clear skies. Cool. In a dome, to see the 99 Rams host the 95 Steelers in a dome. Drizzle for the 66 Packers against the 23 Niners. Okay, that's cool. Dome, 06 Colts against the 2019 Colts. Heavy rain in New York for the 68 Jets against the 87 Broncos, so that could be huge. Steady rain in Tennessee as the 99 Tits will host the 96 Packers. I just like seeing weather reports and all that. Steady rain for the 2013 Broncos hosting the 68 Raiders. Cloudy. Steady rain for the 2017 Pats hosting the 75 Broncos. Cowboys. Dome. 09 Saints versus the 92 Bills. And that's it. All right. So 64 matchups. So yeah, I'll have to figure out which ones are going to be the first ones to get to um whatever and all that. But yeah, I'll figure it out somehow in some way. Thanks for watching. I'm Jeff Diamond. Adieu.